Industrial action's looming at one of Australia's oldest publishers after extensive cost cutting. Fairfax Media is sacking its sub-editors, the journalists who write headlines and spot spelling mistakes, poor grammar and factual errors. The work's to be outsourced instead. Opponents of the move claim it's one more step in the death of a newspaper empire, but Fairfax management says the cost cutting's a matter of survival. Brendan Trembath reports.
Since 1841, with very few reverses, John Fairfax and Sons has grown and prospered.
It's Australia's most venerable media organisation with nearly 200 years of history behind it. Once famed for its rivers of gold classified advertising, modern technology has changed the newspaper industry and Fairfax Media forever.
Newspapers used to be known as the Daily Miracle because they were wonderful products of the mechanical age. They were marvellous productions, but they were difficult to produce, and that production may not be relevant to the 21st century.
The challenges are quite simple. The advertisers are deserting newspapers for other media, particularly the internet. Younger readers are buying and reading fewer newspapers than their parents. And this amazing new medium, the internet, which is revolutionising the whole media industry, is hitting newspapers harder than any other medium.
In recent years, Fairfax has tried to reinvent itself, developing online sites and moving back into radio. Early this year, Greg Highwood became its new CEO.
What we're going to be doing is investing in journalism. Journalism has never been more important to these metro newspapers.
But in the first big move since taking the top job, Greg Highwood has stunned staff by announcing big cuts, in what some see as a sign of desperation. About 45 sub-editors on the Sydney Morning Herald and 45 on The Age.
Every job is under question. There's no certainties in there anymore. It's obviously a very difficult decision for everyone, and a lot of people are very upset about this.
Well, this will be one of the biggest job losses in the company in its history. And that's saying something because there's been many rounds of redundancies here over the past decade.
Fairfax will send the sub-editing work to an outside company. Pagemasters began in Australia and has now expanded to New Zealand and the United Kingdom.
What a lot of newspapers are trying to do is reinvent themselves, which is to say not just simply cutting their costs, which is what's behind the decision of Fairfax to cut their sub-editors this week, but to actually reinvent their entire raison d'etre, to look at where they fit in the media mix.
In a statement to staff yesterday, the Fairfax CEO said we must do things differently if we are to deliver on our commitment to the highest standard of quality, independent journalism. But others worry about ceding control of the editorial process.
The sub-editors are the heart, the minds, and most importantly, the memory of news organisations. It's their collective knowledge and intelligence which guards the quality of the newspaper.
Sub-editors write headlines, cut copy to fit, work on captions. We also do things like identify legal issues and rewrite copy where it's necessary. We work with reporters and editors and the graphics people.
Pagemasters has already been editing some sections of Fairfax papers such as Good Living, Drive and Domain. Fairfax Media says it is outsourcing sub-editing to reduce costs. Initially, it will pay an estimated $25 million in redundancies. But Fairfax says there'll be savings in the longer term, about $15 million each business year. Former Age editor Andrew Jaspin believes Fairfax didn't have much choice.
You really need to look at your costs. You need to see if you could do it more efficiently. There are lots of newspapers around the world, including the Daily Telegraph and the New Zealand Herald papers, who outsource their production to Pagemasters.
Most newspapers are struggling as advertisers abandon them. The weaker papers could end up as yesterday's news.
In 10 years' time, we'll probably see fewer newspapers. A lot of them will be more like niche papers. But I think there will still be some mass-market newspapers, particularly in cities like Adelaide and Brisbane and Perth and Hobart, where they are monopoly cities already and they need one newspaper.
The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald are flagging, but they're still well known, well loved and well read.
They command huge audiences, and we've got to stop thinking about the audience in terms of a newspaper audience or an online audience. If you combine those two together, they're actually still talking to around 1 million people a day.
Brendan Trembath